Yeah, it's been a long time since I've seen that movie, but it was really good. And that was Catherine Bigelow, right? She won the
Correct.
Oscar for that.
First woman to do so.
Yeah. Speaking of first women doing shit, at Kenobi, it's going to be the first it's the first Star Wars property to be scored by a female.
To be honest with you, I could not name one woman
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, like
or
across like everywhere.
anywhere.
But yeah, like
Oh, I
could.
can. I can. There is one, and she's fucking amazing. You've probably heard of her, Yoko Kanno. Maybe not. Yoko
Mm.
Kanno is an anime scorer. She's the best.
Oh,
She
okay.
did Cowboy Bebop. She did Macross. She's done like Mobile Suit Gun, Turning Gun. I even chill just talking about her. Her music is phenomenal. So Yoko Kanno is the shit. Like chills.
That's
Yeah,
dope.
she's good.
That's cool. It's just amazing. Like it's not something that you would necessarily
Even think
think
about,
is a male-dominated
but
industry,
so is.
but yeah, especially if at that level when you're talking
Oh
about
yeah.
TV and movies.
Anyway,
Okay. Oh no, here. You know what? We'll do it. We'll show our. You know what? We'll be men and show that we actually are fucking just as bad as fucking women are about this. Pick one body that you've seen in Hollywood. You know, as the example of like an
America.
actor person's
Done.
body. You'd want Chris Evans' body as Captain America.
Evans. Hell
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep. Actually,
Because
100% agree.
when she touches his chest, that was not scripted, dude. That was
Mhm.
legitimately like, fuck. Like she just couldn't help herself.
I have
That's
to.
what I want.
You know what though? I do. I totally see that, but I'm actually gonna go way back. I don't know what it is, but to me, like
Mark, but
no. And everybody is so. It's funny because the guy who Rob McElhenney was talking about this when he was talking about how
Yeah.
he got shredded. He went to his trainer, and his trainer was like, "Okay,
Fight Club.
here's the thing. I can't make you look like Brad Pitt in
Yeah.
Fight Club. That's
Yeah.
Brad Pitt, and it's total body type and just build and everything
Yeah.
else.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And that's not my ultimate because even that for me, that's too skinny.
Right.
Like he's like lean and wiry. Like there isn't
Yeah.
an ounce of fat on him. For me, dude, it is straight up Ryan Reynolds in Blade 3.
Never saw Blade 3, but Ryan Reynolds is a good looking dude, so I buy it.
No, when he's as Hannibal King, when he is fucking chained up, and this is gonna sound like fucking kinky or something, but it's only because it's when you get to see when he's like shirtless in the thing, you actually get to see what he looks like. When he's like chained up and they've got him, they have him greased up, and you're like, oh yeah, like that is the body. Like, did I just make it awkward?
I got nothing.
Oh, that was fucking awesome. Welcome to the All Pop No Culture podcast. I am your host, Pete, back this week after missing last week. I still have to watch. And I know, ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening to this audio, you've probably listened to 3 audios in a row if you haven't watched Kevin's YouTube, because I know I'm way behind. But see, I won't be behind once we get... Anyway, I am joined, as almost always, well, no, actually always, by Kevin.
Yeah, I'm here.
And there's Andrew.
Hello, everybody.
Andy is not here this week. He is in Mexico with his girlfriend, woman,
Lady Love.
doing the things that adults do when they're on vacation.
Solitaire?
Spades.
Ah, fair.
How have you guys been? I missed
Good,
you
man.
last weekend. I had a
Yeah.
very interesting weekend last weekend. It was Stell's birthday, my youngest, and she likes musicals. Specific musicals though. Like a couple months ago we took her to see Hairspray. She loves that because she's seen the movie. Well, another one that we've played for her is Mamma Mia. We found out that a local high school was putting on a production of Mamma Mia the night before her birthday. Boom, perfect. She's 9. Theater at that point is theater, right? There's spectacle. They're on stage. Woo! So we get to San Ramon Valley High School, and show's supposed to start at 7. We get there at like 6:45, 6:50, and there's no power. Electricity's out. The cast is in the lobby kind of in a chained off area, doing numbers from the show, seeing it to kind of like entertain people as they're working on this. They say, we're expecting the power to be back on by 7:30, and power doesn't pop back on quite yet. Boom, power's up. We're good. They go running in and do mic checks. Lights are on. The people are okay. Let us all in. So we all sit in. Kids start going. Very talented. It's actually it's for a high school production, really good. Like there's some talent going on there. I'm like, great. All of a sudden, about a third of the way in, for the money number, power goes out. These kids did not miss a beat. They kept going with the number. The band, because it's a jukebox musical, based on the music of Adder.
Yeah.
So it's like it's electric. There's piano. There's all sorts of stuff. The drummer kept a small beat going for them, so that they could stay on music or on time with the song. And the conductor did some kind of like pentatonics scatting for some of the melodies for the song, like almost like a bass rhyme, just so they could get where they were going. And some of the other kids came out from the wings and in parts of the set with the flashlights on their phones, and audience members busted out their phones and turned their flashlights on, and everybody was like lighting up this room. Power came back on. They kept going. Happened 2 more times, and it was the same thing. And the second and third time, everybody had their phones and their flashlights out like almost instantly, ready to go. Didn't happen at all in the second act. Everything went through. It was fine. Second half. As a former, drama nerd theater kid, this was such a cool thing to really, you wound up being a part of it, because you were you're sitting there with your phone and the light on, so there's like some involvement and some investment in it, and you're watching these kids power through this incredibly well. And they kept going, and they acted in such a professional manner in doing it, that it filled me with such a hope for live theater. That it's that you like, you always look for that proof that something is going to continue into the future, and that there's hope for the future of things. Man, if this was a high school theater program, just so impressed. Like, these kids just bam. I was absolutely amazed with it. Just the whole thing. So it was really cool, and it was neat because I at the last JV lacrosse home game last night, it was against Granada, and so Dave and Tishan were there, and I saw Tish, and I told her the story, and she was like right there with me, and she got it, that this is one of those nights and those moments in these kids' lives they will never ever forget.
Yeah. Were you involved in company when Lost Places
No.
Company? So I wasn't either. As a matter of fact, I went one night, and it happened to be the night that lights go down to start the show, and they push a cart out on stage, and it has martini glasses and stuff on the cart, right? Because it's taking place in an apartment, and somebody tripped and knocked the whole thing over in the dark, and you hear the glass shatter and everything.
Oh shit.
And Andy Miramani comes in from off stage, delivers some kind of line about how party foul, and plays into it like it's part of the show. And so they like literally played, like vamped some music, and they played it off in the beginning in the dark to get the show going. But it is one of those things about live theater that is so impressive, because the best ones are the ones that you don't know about as an audience member, because we've all been there. Like, all of us that have done theater have done a show where something's not working, and you just end around and keep going. It's like the one acts with the pause.
Yes. So I don't think, unless Andrew's ever listened to that episode, I don't think you ever heard this story. Myself and Opie, one of the guys that was previously on the podcast, and this girl Jennifer were doing a one act. This guy, we knew Pepe was directing. It was a Harold Pinter play. It was the three of us just doing a series of monologues, and the lights would just spot on one with a filter. They'd talk, spots out, spot goes up on the other one. And it just clicks back and forth between the three of us. It's just like, I think we had like 3 or 4 monologues each. I had gone, and it was, I did a monologue, boom, I sat there, and I'm waiting, and I get to smoke on stage. And so, like, as this character, and so we had it timed pretty well that by the time Jen did hers, and then it clicked over to Mike, and then I had one after him, I would literally almost be putting out the cigarette to lead into my monologue. Well, I get done, spot goes down on me, I'm leaning against proscenium smoking, light comes up on Jen. Nothing.
She's there though.
Nothing. Oh, she's there.
Oh yeah,
she's right next to me. It's just the three of us on stage. There's almost no set piece whatsoever.
And the Las Vegas stage isn't big. Yeah, it's maybe like 15 people across if you're lucky.
Yeah, it's not a big thing. She has just frozen on stage, and she, to her credit, stops, make a motion, will look up, like she'll emote something. And it was Mike. I forgot how long he said it was.
It was a minute at least.
Yeah, of dead air on stage. To his credit, it was amazing that he just let her go. But she said nothing for a minute, and then grabbed her monologue and moved. And she found it. It took her a minute, but she found it, and she went. We had people telling us, that was a very bold choice to have her so quiet. Jen, that was amazing. You were up there like that. And we're all sitting there back there. She's like, I just fucking lost it. She's like, I could not find the line to open it. I couldn't figure out what it was. And that's Mike, amazing. To his credit, just let her go. Like Pepe was back there. Like, and I know he was sweating, trying to figure out whether they should cut her light and light him to go, or what they should do. And they didn't. And it was one of those moments that, I mean, like, it almost looked like, it was kind of performance art anyway, but it was one of those pieces where it's like woman on stage. I mean, especially because 1 minute on stage Eternity. Of silence like that feels like
it's even longer when you're the actor. I can tell you that right now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. When you're the one that's supposed to have the line and you're not remembering it, that is a fucking million years on stage right there.
Yep. When you're searching for it, you're like, God damn. Yeah, that's it. It's like 5 seconds, and it feels to you like it has been forever. In that moment, everything slows. Like you hear your fucking heart beating. Mm-hmm. You can feel the sweat, literally not beating, but you can feel like the forming. Individual sweat glands producing sweat. You're like, oh God, and then you catch it and you go, and it's like, oh okay. But yeah, it was one of those moments that you're like, okay, this is flying without a net. This is live theater, and this is what it's all about. And these kids, it was just very impressive. Very, very impressive with the composure that they had and they went through. So yeah, that was a fun little experience. It was neat to be part of that. But yeah, so anyway, behind there, why don't we, Andrew, why don't you lead us in here? What do you got on tap this week? What'd you watch? What's notable? What you watching,
What's notable?
Sweetie?
All right. So there's a story behind this decision. So I was doing what I do, which is share, interesting things on my Facebook page. And there was an oldie but goodie meme that featured Anthony Mackie. And the meme had like 5 photos of him. And the headline was, Anthony Mackie always looks like he knows something about you, because he always has this kind of like mischievous smirk on his face,
and in all the pictures,
he can't help it. And
in all the pictures, he's always kind of looking at you from the side.
Yes,
got a little smile. He's like,
Yeah, just a
Like
little
they
side
find in
eye.
the picture. Yeah, just a little bit that you're like,
And it's kind of his personality. So then one of my my Facebook connections, he's been demoted from friend for this. No, I'm joking. One of
He's
my
fired.
Facebook connections
it's a
is
compliment.
like, he's like, we'll see. We'll see what other people have to say about this. But he's like, you kind of favor him, right? Or you could pass for him. You could pass for Anthony Mackie. And I'm like, what? And then another friend connection piles on and goes, I was just gonna say the same thing. So I
No.
was kind of like, why am I bothered by this? Like, I am bothered by it because I'm like, come on, you think we all look the same? You know where I'm going when I say that. But then number one, but then number two,
I don't know what are you talking about.
Kevin, well, there's this thing, right? Where no. So basically, I'm like, you know what though? Like
Message.
maybe it isn't. I was just kind of like, I was like, I've never ever like thought of myself as Anthony Mackie. And then it hit me. I'm like, okay, so what, like, just, you should watch The Hurt Locker. It just popped in my head because it was like, okay, Anthony Mackie's in that movie. Jeremy Renner's in that movie. So there's a point to all this. This is the way my brain works. Jeremy Renner's in that movie, and that movie kind of put them both on the map. And it's the first feature film to win Best Picture by a woman director. This is a major gap in your life, dude. So I might actually start a whole thing about what I talk about is like filling the gap or minding the gap or something. That might be my whole thing because there are gaps in my viewing history. So anyway, I watched The Hurt Locker. Don't mind the siren. I live in Manhattan. Anyway, I watched The Hurt Locker, and I will say I definitely see why the film got as much accolades as it did. I definitely see why Jeremy Renner in particular became that it guy for a while. I mean, I remember hearing nothing about Jeremy Renner. I think he's from Stockton, actually. So he's a Bay Area guy or, Central California guy. But then all of a sudden it was like he was going to be the next big thing. He was all of a sudden, he was part of the Mission Impossible series. I think he was also part of the Bourne series. Like all of a sudden, this is going to be the next.
They were going to reboot Bourne with him,
yeah, he's going to be the next big action guy. And then, of course, I see him as Hawkeye and Thor. And then, of course, going on to, so I was like, who is this Jeremy Renner guy? He seems kind of regular to me. I don't really get it, but like, whatever. But in this film, he actually is, he brought it. Yeah, you guys can jump in with your thoughts on it. But I mean, ultimately, I think it's a film worth watching. I think that it definitely kind of puts you right into the war. I mean, you're definitely kind of fearing for everyone's life, as you're watching it. The handheld cam, I think, gives a certain realism to the whole situation. What else I'm missing some things, but I'm wanting to like make sure I capture everything I wanted to capture. I liked the dynamic between the three main characters. You've got Jeremy, who's like, again, I got Myers-Briggs this ISTP. So think Wolverine, like basically the guy who kind of almost dulls his sense of humanity just to get by. Like he's just kind of like a fly by the seats kind of guy. He definitely has he has a heart. I mean, he definitely cared about the boy, a little Beckham kid, but at the same time, he just doesn't really give a shit because he has to not give a shit to like survive. And he can't even really cope with real life anymore. Like all he knows is this. He just focuses all his energy on this mission. The one guy, forget his name, but the third guy is kind of like a babyish kind of guy. Like he's just lucky to be alive, and he just wanted to get the fuck out of there. And thank God he did. But damn, And then Mackie's character is a tough guy, but you definitely see that they're kind of having an alpha male balance. And the one scene where they're punching each other, but then like Jeremy Renner's character finally like punches him really hard and then gets on top of him and starts like riding him. Like that was some weird shit. But then he even calls him boy at the end. That was kind of weird. Like, so basically there's a lot of like just alpha male dynamics, alpha male psychology going on. And I think what really makes that kind of remarkable is while the script was written by a man, the film was directed by a woman. So I think it kind of lends itself to the idea that, yes, we all bring different perspectives based on our identity, so it's like, a Black director might do a better job at Black Panther than say a director of another ethnicity. An Egyptian director is obviously behind Moon Knight. So I do think that there's credence to that, but at the same time, you didn't need a male director to make a film like The Hurt Locker. So I liked that it showed that there is still a universality of the human experience and human storytelling. And I think if anything, she may have done a better job of really showing the vulnerability behind these characters more so than other war films have depicted. So that's my monologue on The Hurt Locker. Definitely a see it film.
So I have seen this movie once.
Yep.
I remember liking it, but I remember thinking it was so fucking heavy that I don't think I'd want to watch it again. I enjoyed it. I thought it was very well shot.
I don't remember feeling that way, but I also don't remember how I felt. It's
I
been a
would
long
like-
time. I know that I liked it, but
I'm interested after you talking about it of going back and taking another look at it, because I was the same way with Jarhead. And that movie I've actually gone back and watched several times. And in fact, there have been jags when I've gone on where like I've watched it a couple times over the course of a couple of days, because I don't know why I was just into it that much. So I think I'm going to revisit this and take another look at Hurt Locker, because I don't remember it that well. But I do remember I thought it was like just a very heavy, taut, tense movie. There's a lot of emotion. I remember Jeremy Renner was awesome in it, but I also remember leaving it going, Jesus, what a fucking psycho like this guy is. Secondly, I do also find it interesting that the two people who think you look like Anthony Mackie are an Asian dude and a white dude that appears to be married to or with a black lady. I don't know why I find that funny. But
Wait, what are you talking about? I think I missed that.
Oh no! On your Facebook feed, you had.
Oh, got it. Yeah, the people. Yeah.
You look at Anthony Mackie
and a guy from yeah. I'll call him out. I don't give a fuck. Sorry, I just cursed.
That was Jimmy Anthony.
Ken and Jimmy Anthony. Jimmy's from Denmark, actually. He's
that's okay. Bronchosier. He's got the little O's with the
the
lines through. I don't know what the fuck that means in grammar, the way I'm supposed to pronounce that. But Bronchosier.
I'm pretty sure.
It's very interesting. But he's with in his picture. He's with an African American woman. They're a very attractive looking couple.
Yeah.
I'd have a threesome with them. Anyway,
no.
No, keep it.
No.
Oh, it's staying in the show, but
but yeah, no, I want to go back and take a look at this now, because I haven't seen that movie in a long time. I just remember feeling it was like really almost like the first time I saw Saving Private Ryan. Like I saw Saving Private Ryan in the theater, and I was like, well, I don't need to see that movie again as long as I fucking live. It was amazing, but I don't need to watch all of that happen
Schindler's
again.
List.
Same thing.
I will say though is, and I was afraid to say it, but fuck, I'm gonna say it now. So sometimes I wonder about like, and I know I actually did this, and we're gonna go on a tangent, I promise. But I know we talked about Magnolia, and I remember thinking to myself, okay, I get why it's such a big deal, but it seems kind of simple to me, and I know you guys defended it, I think particularly Pete. And I think with this film as well, it's like I was expecting something a bit more profound. I think that like when Anthony Mackie, when Jeremy says to Anthony, he goes, "Do you know why I'm the way I am?" Like I was like, okay, finally we're getting somewhere, because after you save your buddy after shooting him in the leg by accident, you're crying in the shower, but you don't even take off your uniform. You're literally in your uniform crying in the shower. Vulnerability, awesome. But then you're like, "Do you know why I'm the way I am?" He's like distraught because Anthony Mackie's like, "Man, fuck this. I want to go home. I want to have a son. Like, I don't want to die." We're getting somewhere. But then the next scene is literally he's just back in the grocery store, clearly hates his life. And then he's talking to his daughter or son, whatever. And he's like, when you grow up, you end up loving only two things or maybe even one thing, and the one thing he loves, obviously, is he's gone back to the fucking Iraq and he's there for a year. Okay. So I felt the same way about Crash. It's like Crash was this like, oh my God, such a crazy movie about racism and all these insights. Oh my God. And I'm like, are you serious? Like, okay, if you're a full Pollyanna who's never experienced racism, maybe that movie's mind blowing to you. But to me, it's like, that's Tuesday. Like, what are you talking about? Like, shut up. So I feel like this film was like, this is such an exploration of like the psychology and all the things that warriors go through. Okay, well, half the warriors don't even like your shit, so it's like maybe not even more. So part of me also thinks the movie was overrated. That said, the performances and the mechanics of the film were solid, but I had to get that out there too.
I do, from what I remember of it and what I remember hearing about it, I do agree with you. Um, like about the kind of overratedness of it. I do remember because I didn't see that. I didn't see that in the theater. I remember I didn't see it until it was like Oscar nominated or whatever it was. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll see this. And I remember watching it, and it's same thing. I was expecting way more than what it was. And I'm going to take us off on a tangent here real quick because you brought it up. Um, I agree with you about Crash. I think the thing that makes Crash a little different than a lot of other message movies, if you will, Crash did the same thing. That was a Soderbergh film, wasn't it?
That sounds right.
I think it's
I'm looking at it.
because whoever it was, I feel like it's the same thing. And oh shit, I'm losing it on the name of the movie now. Because there's like 8 other movies that are kind of like it, but it does a very interesting job of weaving the subtext through and telling different stories and showing how it affects
Each one.
in its different ways, almost like Michael Douglas is the drug czar and Erica Christensen's his daughter and Benicio del
I remember
Toro's,
that one.
it's like a
Shit. It's not like 2001, I think.
Don Cheadle's in it.
Yeah.
Like
And
I'm forgetting, like Eric, like it shows how the drug trade affects it, like follows the different stories, and you kind of see where it goes, and it's a little more like that. I do think, though, I will say, I think Crash was way overrated.
So
in
actually,
so many
Crash
ways,
was
like,
done by some random named Paul Haggis.
oh, Paul Haggis? No, he's done a ton of shit.
Oh, my bad.
Oh no,
I know
no,
that.
it's hold on, well, he wrote Crash.
You're talking about Traffic. It's so funny because they're both auto related, but yeah. Traffic.
He actually, Paul Haggis has done some other stuff. He did Quantum. Hold on a second.
That movie was a trip. There's an actress in that movie who was like, wait, I need to chill on that.
Anyway, yeah, we'll go. We'll reel it back. We'll bring it. But yeah, no, I think Crash. I think that's the only reason Crash did what it did, because it did.
Traffic was Soderbergh, so you were on the right track there.
You know how I remember it was Soderbergh? Because it's shot with fucking like 8 different filters for where you are. Whenever you got anything going on with Michael Douglas and like the whole drug czar world and his daughter, there's like a blue filter, varying degrees. And when you're dealing with Benicio del Toro, and I remember watching that going, he is just filter fucking happy in this movie.
Peter Andrews was the cinematographer of that movie. But do you know who Peter Andrews is?
No.
Pseudonym for Steven Soderbergh. Keep going. Hilarious.
Interesting.
I just read that.
Good for him.
I love the internet.
I know. But yeah, no, I think that's the only reason Crash got as much of a, like, the accolades for the discussion on race that it brought up, is because it, and plus you fucking hate the shit out of Matt Dillon in that movie.
Matt Dillon. Yes. You're right, because what he did in the beginning. Correct.
To Tandy Newton.
Yeah,
you're just like, you fucking prick.
And yet
like, he's just
at the end. But I want to keep to my promise. I think I've done about 15 minutes on this one, so I'm gonna pass the mic like a Beastie Boys.
Well, then you know what we'll do, because this is, why don't we knock this one out of the park here, fellas? Because I finally watched, now that it has come out on the HBO Max, The Batman, with our friend Edward Carlisle.
I didn't know the last name. That's terrible.
It's a bad Twilight.
Cedric Diggory.
No, it's
some respect on that name.
Okay, so The Batman.
Yeah, I want your take first, because I think you probably liked it less than I did.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot. It wasn't any individual performance. I liked some of the pieces that were brought together in it. I don't know. I'm so conflicted about this fucking movie, because it's so, like, I went into it knowing it was more of a detective Batman, which I liked. I liked that idea.
Oh, that is 100% what I wanted from a Batman movie.
which I'm happy with. The problem is with this movie is that it tried to do this like updated emo film noir thing, and I don't think it did it very well. I enjoyed the movie. It wasn't bad. I just think like the detective story itself was there. I felt like you went and you took like the Riddler was the backdrop pieces. Spoilers now because everybody's fucking seen it at this point. Realistically, the Riddler is the backdrop piece that leads him into the whole Falcone thing and the way they tie Catwoman into. I get the way they tried to layer it and then bring it right back around to the Riddler, but I think there was just so much crap in the first hour 10 of this movie that made it slog along so much. And a lot of action movies can fall into that, and they'll do that when they try to be a little more serious, if you will. But the one thing that is supposed to kind of like break the monotony of that, like the big car chase with him and the Penguin, it was good, but at the same time I was still just kind of like, meh. All right, I get it.
It's actually funny. A lot of the action in this movie wasn't as good as some other maybe Batman movies.
No, but I'll tell you what, it still has it now. I will say this: it has my. Oh, you little fuckstick!
Don't talk to your kid like that.
Must be the dog.
I'll be back in a moment.
Something in the way.
Since we're recording, he's walking away. I will say that I do agree. And I told you before, for me, it definitely ran long. It was too long. I think there's some editing that could have been done. Some scenes were a little slow, or there were just some shots that were a little too gratuitous. And it really could have benefited from losing about a half hour's worth of scenery. But I thought the actors were fine. It's still not my favorite Riddler. Like for me, the Riddler isn't a serial killer. Like it was a little much for the Riddler for me. That's not who he is in the comic books. Which is a terrible argument to make, right? Like these are movies, they're not comic books. And while they're based on comic books, they should be able to do their own thing. So, they should be able to do a different take on the Riddler if they want to, especially because that character is easily cheesy, right? Like if you don't nail the Riddler, he's just corny. He's just a dude that tells jokes, tells riddles and gets away with them. But he's also one of the hardest ones to tell the story for, because I know how smart Batman is, but it's always so. It's never quite right when Batman figures out the Joker's riddle or the Riddler's riddles, right? He's just like, oh, I knew that he meant this, and I'm like, nobody would know that. Like, they're too weird. Like the one with the one where the whole screen and then it says drive. Like he just knows that oh no, this cipher that nobody else is figuring out. This is what it actually means, and it took him one night to figure it out. And granted, I've said this before when we were talking about Batman, and so it is also funny enough. One of the things that I love that they did is that Batman is always the smartest guy in the room.
Exactly.
So he should be figuring these out, but it's sometimes like it's just when you're explaining or showing somebody figure out a riddle, it's just like they figured it out without any effort. And I'm like, it's supposed to be a little complicated. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but it just doesn't quite.
No, I buy it. Like
work.
Basically it doesn't feel earned. And
yeah,
and that kind of takes you out of like the whole suspension of disbelief. Now you're just like, dude, come on.
Yeah.
Like, I get it.
And some of the riddles, like the way they twist and turn. Like I wish I could remember, because there was one in the movie, and I was like, I don't know. But like I said, you suspend your disbelief and you move on. Um, and again, I don't think it was necessarily bad. I think you could do a very bad Riddler and tell a very bad Riddler story using those mechanics where Batman just figures out what he's talking about, right? He's just like, oh, I knew this. And it's just bad. But this one wasn't necessarily like that.
What did you think of the scene where you almost think that the Riddler knows he's Bruce Wayne, and then you find out that actually no, he actually doesn't. Like he thinks he killed Bruce Wayne. I thought that was really well done, because I was in the theater going, oh fuck, and you could even see it in like his eyes, like oh fuck, But then when he realizes, oh shit, he thinks I'm dead. Like he just, I liked that. That was my touch for me.
There's so much good stuff in the movie, so I can't badmouth it. I can't say I hated it. Like I said, my biggest thing was it was too long. There were little things here and there. I actually, I don't think Zoe was the best actress in that film. Like I think she's done better work, but man, when she shows up, is she really easy to look at? She just chews up the screen.
She lights up the fucking screen. She was actually one of my favorite parts of the entire movie. I actually liked her Catwoman. I think it was a little over the top, and I think at some points they almost didn't know what to do with her. They're like, okay, we're using her to push this storyline along, and it's going very well. But blah, blah, blah.
Well, she was almost barely Catwoman.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like she was like
well, in the same respect though. Okay, so let me backpedal to where I was before I so virulently left. A fucking dog got into the trash in the bathroom, and okay, close the door all the way.
I know what dogs eat in the bathroom. I'm good with you.
So it had one of my favorite action sequences in any Batman movie ever, and that is the one where Robert Pattinson's kicking the shit out of the thugs. I think it's in the club, and it's dark, and it's just the flashes of the guns, and you hear the noise, and there's like some red lights, you see flickers of motion. It's just done so well, because in what you do see, it's just a really great sequence. I would liken it to that moment when Luke walks in and starts fucking thrashing shit at the end of the Mandalorian. Like it was right there where I was like, this is just a great, like, forget that it's Luke and all this. This is just a great, I mean, it was just a great little segment of film. I enjoyed it. I thought like I said, I guess the detective, okay. I like the fact that it was a detective Batman. I think that's awesome. It was great. I like where they're going. I think the universe that they're building with this Batman is way different than the current DC.
Oh yeah,
completely. It is a little more akin to the Joaquin Phoenix Joker universe, in that it's grounded somewhat in reality, but and I guess in the same way there were some, it was nice, there were some sequences that I really did feel like were comic book pages come to life. Like I really did kind of feel that, and I did like try to look at it like, okay, I'm reading a Batman comic, and this is an interpretation of a noir Batman, and this is the Batman they're doing. I did not like the Batmobile.
Yeah, it was okay for me. Yeah. It was okay for me, but it wasn't great. But at the same time, like the one thing that I will say is that him having that vehicle doesn't imply that he is a fucking billionaire, right? You see that, and he is a street level vigilante.
Exactly. And this I guess was my problem with that part of it, but I also had to try and go, like, again, by the time the movie picked up and I saw really where it was by hour 2, unfortunately I wasn't like fully bought in on the movie until the second hour of the film, because I felt like it the Bruce Wayne aspect of it, okay, I kept waiting for us to get any sort of billionaire playboy Bruce Wayne, and that's not who this Bruce Wayne was going to be in this movie at all.
No,
that's not what it was going to be. And it's like, okay, fine, but they don't really, like, you keep waiting for it, and like I said, it's not really until the second hour that you're really just like, oh, okay. like that's just
This-
never going to be once they're
No, this
they're
was a Batman
unraveling.
movie.
Yeah,
this was 100% a Batman movie. As a
exactly.
matter of fact, the scene that you were talking about when the Riddler,
Yes.
basically says, what does
This
he
is who
say
you
about his
are.
face? Yeah, he said this is basically says this is the real you.
Oh yeah.
Which is very true, and the whole movie leans into that. Like he's never almost Bruce Wayne, and when
Yeah.
he is, he's you got him at the funeral, so I mean, he doesn't. It's not chipper there, and he's shitty at home. But like they kind of explain that too, where he's so worn out from
Fighting.
not only fighting everything, but he's talking about how he kind of feels like maybe he is the one that is making things worse and not better.
Yeah.
Right. Which is a really interesting take, because they've said that in other comics. I don't know if they've been Batman necessarily, but you bring in superpowered heroes, and that opens the door for superpowered villains. Like everything meets in the middle. So the bigger your good guys are, bigger bad guys come out of the works.
Right. Well, that's always been a component in the Joker Batman relationship.
Mhm.
Has always been the and again it's what I always refer to as Dark Knight Returns. In that graphic novel Frank Miller has written it, in that universe the Joker's been captured. He's in Arkham basically, or what's passing for Arkham at this point. But because the Batman has retired, the Joker has almost gone catatonic.
Mm-hmm.
And is like so deep now in his psychosis because there is no more Batman. So it's like it's also part of the whole Killing Joke thing about how they're both two sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
So that's always been there. Oh, and that's side note. Did you watch the deleted Joker scene?
I saw it. Yeah,
I
with
saw it too.
Barry Keogh.
Okay, we'll talk about that in a second. So overall, I liked it. It was good. I felt the problem was they were doing this detective story, and the detective story itself wasn't that good. Like they tried and failed. Like the noir side of it was very much like I was like, I get it, but it's just a little weird. Like it almost felt like there were times I almost felt like this was a really, really long extended segment from Sucker Punch. Like I kept waiting for like it was almost like there was some weird I don't know, like the universe just never felt like it was grounded in reality, but I almost felt like they were leaning towards this almost weird steampunk thing in a weird way with some of the architecture. Like it was
I buy
weirdly
that.
like there was just stuff in
Yeah.
it that I kept getting like different vibes. Like I felt like it didn't completely know where it wanted to be stylistically. That it just kept taking me out of it. Because I think now, if we want to do Detective Batman, and I forgot who directed this.
The Matt Reeves.
Matt Reeves. Okay. I'm not familiar with any other work if he's done anything else.
Man of the Apes. You ever seen those?
Okay, loved those actually.
Yeah.
Those were ones that I
The
came
trilogy,
late to,
yeah.
that I actually wound up completely loving. I had no interest in watching them before, and I thought they were so well done. I would have liked to have seen. I would like to see Batman, this hard boiled detective Batman, written and directed by Rian Johnson. I know, sounds goofy. Stay with me. Knives Out.
Yeah, but I don't see. Here's the thing. I don't tangent mode. I personally think I trust him with original work, not franchise work. I don't think he has respect for the lore. So fuck him.
We talked about on Star Wars. Yeah, that's
Don't trust him.
That's for a whole nother show. I don't know. Maybe I feel like it just wasn't. It just didn't stick for me. Like it wasn't completely cohesive. I enjoyed it. Now, Kevin, I know you mentioned like in pre-show when we were kind of dancing around about this, you could see this as a jumping off point for other DCEU stuff.
I mean, if you were ever going to jump off of the Batman, this is the place to do it. It's almost like Spider-Man, where you didn't have to tell his origin story. We get it. We know what happened there. They talk about it a couple of times in the movie, and then we're good.
Yeah, but then it becomes like this big pivotal thing for Batman and who killed Thomas Wayne and that whole like that. I
But
didn't hate that, but I
in the
didn't like. I
in
was
the
kind of
comics
like,
though,
who gives a
he
fuck?
in the comics he's never known.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
you can bring up that question anytime you want, and it's relevant to Batman because he still never knows who killed his parents.
But now he does.
Um,
That's
yeah,
the thing though. Now he does, and
yeah.
so it does going forward becomes a very interesting thing for Batman. Except, and this is where the movie where I actually got very much on board with Batman, and where I went and said, okay, if you're gonna, just like you just said, if you're gonna use a Batman as your jumping off point, and now you're going to build Superman, Wonder Woman, you're going to reboot that and build them into this Batman universe, and this is where we're going to take the DC universe from here. I can be on board with that, because by the end, Batman reconciles and it becomes and it's, again, Dark Knight Returns. There's a segment in that where this bomb goes off. This nuclear bomb from Russia goes off, and it's called the Coldbringer missile, and it sends out this electromagnetic pulse that shuts down everything electrical. So Batman comes and he gets these like crazy, these mutant gang people and the Sons of Batman, all this weird shit that's been going on, and he controls the city. He stops the rioting. He does, like there's a plane that crashes in the city, and he kind of like, he is like, for lack of a better term, he's that whole Judge Dredd, like, I am the law. And he basically says something like that. He's like, tonight we are the law in Gotham, and it was very much like that. You saw this Batman who was working to help people and be the hero Batman, if you will. So there was like a change in there. So all of a sudden I'm going, okay, if you're going to jump off, this is actually the perfect way to do it, because we've got this little, I don't want to say artsy fartsy kind of Batman thing here, but we've got this Batman in. Okay, you know what? We've got the new mayor. We've got a great love Jeffrey,
Yes, right.
Because he's great in
as
everything.
as fucking Lieutenant Gordon. Awesome. He's great. I think he captures Gordon like a great Gordon.
And he's still an early Gordon too, right? Like he's
Yes.
still, he's not
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon
Nope.
when the movie starts.
So I'm saying, okay, let's start small with this. This is actually a great way to jump the DCEU off as a reboot. Let's start small right here. Just like Marvel now is taking Spider-Man and some of those associated things, and we're bringing it back down to the ground level. Let's launch the DCEU from the ground level and then go up. Let's not bring in Superman right away with the superpowered people. Let's get another hard-boiled detective thing where maybe we'll bring something else that is a little, we can lead into
do
something.
Martian Manhunter next.
Exactly.
Because you bring in superpowers, but it can still be a detective story, and it's still
exactly. And now we've got Batman. So, you've got Batman, who is now a hero to the city in a lot of ways. And now you can take Bruce Wayne, and Bruce Wayne is going to come out of the shadows, and he's going to take back over the renewal fund, as it were, and work with the new mayor. And so then he is going to be more, he can be billionaire playboy Bruce Wayne again. And it gives you that jump off point. I don't think over a course of movies, unless you're going to just make this now, unless you're going to just make Batman detective movies, which, hey, if that's just what you want to do and leave this as is, let's do that. But they could very, very easily use this as a jump off point to then branch out from there. I wasn't 100% sure if I was going to love what they did with the Penguin at first, because the last time we saw the Penguin was Danny DeVito, and before that it was I'm forgetting the actor
Burgess Meredith.
It was, and the Penguin was always, even in all the cartoons, the Penguin has always been just physically an odd person as well. This guy, not really. I mean, it's different than Colin Farrell. It's, physically, there's obviously prosthetic and shit they put on him there. But I liked what they did with that character, actually. And the Catwoman thing, I did actually like this iteration of Selena Kyle and where she's going from here, because it does lean in to then down the road. So, because she's already part of the underworld at this point, it leads into Selena Kyle, Kyle escorts, and what happens with Selena as things go on. I could see her as Catwoman. I think it's a better. I'm gonna piss some people off here. It's better Catwoman than Anne Hathaway's.
I agree.
Yeah.
Like completely. I think, but I also think in that movie they completely underutilized that character and made her window dressing in that movie.
Wait, Dark Knight Rises, you mean? I mean,
Yeah.
I thought she was great for what I thought she was great. I think
Oh no,
that
she was great for what they gave her. I
Yeah.
just think she was like this weird little subplot that you almost didn't care about until you realize, oh, in the end, basically, I was like, okay, they literally brought in one of the most famous women in comics to be Bruce's love interest at the end of the movie when he retires. Like that, like that's.
Okay, but again, we're like, I can't talk.
I know.
We're going off in tangents. But I was just gonna say,
No, we're still talking about Batman.
Yeah, but I loved her intro. I loved how she ends up like literally like cracking the safe and everything, and then like she like kicks over the cane, and she's kind of like floats out the window. I'm like, I loved it, and even and then the music was great too. But yeah, I just wanted to defend because I like Anne Hathaway too. I do, but
no, I did. I didn't. I liked Anne Hathaway, and the actions. I just thought the character was underutilized.
Okay.
I thought they could have done so much more with it and had her so much more involved. But I mean, anyway, Christopher Nolan and that plot with the Bane, and I think that was a case of trying to jam too much into one. They should have had her in the movie before. And
speaking of Bane, and then talking about the movie we're actually talking about,
the green juice,
yeah, the Venom.
Is it though? Is it?
You tell me what else is green and glows and gives you a little bit of fit of rage and some beat 'em up energy.
I would be on board with it if that's what it was,
because that would be a more interesting second story for this, is him dealing with addiction. Because in the comics, Batman dealing with the addiction from Venom is pre-Bane. It's actually before Bane, and that was a hell of a storyline. Like,
do it.
And with this Batman,
it works.
It being patented, it would work perfectly.
Yeah.
And especially with Selena Kyle taking off and leaving him behind, like she's going to Bloodhaven right now. Mm-hmm. I think the Venom storyline would land. It would work. I mean, it would be exceptionally heavy for a Batman movie.
Do it. You gotta differentiate yourself from the MCU.
I think it would, but I think they would also be able to handle it very, very well because you're already dealing with a character that has two different sides to him anyway. So you're not gonna have, when he is Bruce Wayne, that addiction will still be there, but it's so situational.
Well, the other thing too is that the comics leaned into, when he finally realizes that he's an addict and needs to get over it, he's got somebody to hand Batman off to.
Yeah.
He's too young to do that right now. Like, he can't have a Robin right now. He can't have a Nightwing. He can't have anybody to pass it off to. I mean, you can bring in Azrael, which is what they did in the comics, but that seems like a pretty big leap. You could do it right. I mean, you could do it right. You could bring in somebody that's, more of a villain and less of a hero, but still doing good things, like somebody that's a little unhinged, but doing good things. And
but then you're getting away from, at least because I only read a few of those with that storyline in Batman. I think the Azrael character was neat. That whole thing was like an interesting replacement for Batman, if you will, in that moment. But I think he's also for mainstream Batman in some ways a little too esoteric.
Well,
for a lot of people,
they've talked about doing the Court of Owls, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, Azrael is at least associated with them in some form or fashion.
Well, there's going to be they did say it's already announced and in the works that they are doing an Arkham Asylum show on HBO Max. That should be very interesting. Yeah, I'm interested to see that. You know, like I said, I didn't hate it. I didn't think it completely understood what it wanted to be
Yeah,
throughout
and it
the
was
whole
too
movie.
and it was too long. That's my biggest
Too
complaint.
fucking long. I mean, it just like there was some stuff that like established. I lost the piece of paper I wrote them down on, but there were a couple of times when I had a piece of paper and I was like, this scene right here, I would have cut this 5 fucking minutes. Like no reason for this. And it's interesting that that shit stayed in, but they cut the Joker scene that you can watch on HBO Max out because that was very interesting. And that tease really makes me want to see this guy's Joker like
Right.
realized out in the world. It's very
And
interesting.
you know what though?
Like,
I would love to see a series of Batman movies where Joker never leaves Arkham Asylum.
oh, that'd be cool. Very like
Ye-
like very Hannibal Lecter. Like Batman goes
Yeah,
and talks to him. But I think and I think that would be a great way to tie in, you know, the Arkham Asylum TV series, whatever they do with that. That'll be very interested in. I'm interested to see what they do with that because I'm a little familiar with the Arkham Asylum game when you're basically just Batman, you know, rolling through Arkham Asylum, kicking the shit out of people. Um, I don't know what they're gonna do with this. Like, is it gonna be a monster of the week where every week someone escapes? Like, what you know?
but it
Is
won't
it
have Batman in it, so it's hard to tell.
exactly?
Like
Yeah, I'm
that's the
like, what are
thing.
we gonna
Like
do? So I think you're right. Like, I would love to see the next movie. In this world, I think it would be really interesting. I think it'd be fun. Um, but it would be a lot of work,
mhm.
a lot of heavy lifting on that one because it would have to figure out what it really, really wants to do. Tongue punch my fart box over there, buddy. So yeah, final word on the Batman from me. I enjoyed it. I can see what they want to do with it. It's all really up in the air
Yeah, for
to
me,
see what they
just
do.
yeah, my final word on it is for me, it's one of the better Batman movies.
Oh
I
yeah,
I would certainly put
I'll
it.
give it that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's for me, it's top three somewhere in there.
There you go.
Maybe top four, depending. You know, but like for me, the Keaton Batman, the first one, always special. I love that one, and that's a hard one to beat for me. Dark Knight is amazing, but this one was good, and it's the one thing before we saw it, before we really got into trailers for it and everything. It was the one thing that I said I wanted was a Batman detective movie because that's who Batman is.
Yes.
And so for them to do it, I was like, you got my vote if you don't totally fuck it up, and they didn't totally fuck it up. So
Yeah. No, they didn't totally fuck it up. I just don't think it was as good as it could have been.
it needed to be shorter. Like I could deal with so many issues if it just wasn't so long because it makes it a little boring, and that's not fair. Like
Yeah.
it. So
I guess, and my last word, because I'll get into it, is that I actually, for me, I thought the film for me that is hilarious, but that's okay. I'll take it. I will take it. Anyway, the last third was a little long, but because I got muted.
See that's
But because
wait,
it was
you said the last third was a little long?
or not long, but a little weak to me. The last third felt
Really?
a bit more generic. Like, oh, now he's just like saving the city and like he's like fighting in the auditorium, and I don't know. It felt more like I've seen this before. Whereas the first parts of the film, I hadn't seen that before in a Batman film. I hadn't seen the procedural thing. I hadn't seen the real like danger of like a funeral. I think it was a funeral, and then like the car drives in, and there's like all that stuff. I hadn't seen that before, and that was cool. And I hadn't seen the whole Alfred Bruce like kind of bond where Bruce is like, you're not my daddy, you know. And then by the end of the film, actually, after having almost lost Alfred, that's the beginning of their true relationship. So that I liked, but I liked the Venom thing. Like I'm glad you said that, Kevin, because that was one of my favorite moments. Because this guy is so determined. Like he's literally, you cannot stop him, and I loved that. But I just felt like the rest of it felt a little generic, and that's the thing that I don't like. I don't like because there's so many superhero films, so it's hard to be generic. It's hard to not be generic. Marvel, I think, has figured it out. because they literally take different genres and then fold it into the superhero like veneer. But I feel like DC hasn't figured that out yet per se. But I'm glad you guys actually felt like you guys had nothing about the last third. You've just focused more on the first hour being long and the whole movie being just too long. So either way, whatever, all good. The movie succeeded. I don't have to defend my initial praise for it. Was it a bit overhyped in the beginning? Probably. Do I think it's better to be watched in a theater than at home?
I would
Probably.
have. I actually. I would say. I think. I think it still would have been a little long. I would have liked to have seen this in the theater now. Like I wish I did. Just to see the difference in the two.
IMAX, for example. So yeah.
I think scope wise, I think it would have been interesting. I did. That's one we didn't even touch on. I did enjoy Andy Serkis as Alfred. I thought he was
Yeah.
really good. It was a very different role for him. You know, he's which was cool. There was anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
No, I did though. I did enjoy it. I don't want anybody to think I didn't. So the only thing that I have that's of note to speak on this week that everybody should watch if you don't mind full frontal male nudity is before I actually get into this one, everybody has to watch Winning Time, the story of the Lakers Celtics dynasty in the 80s. Even if you're not a sports person, it is such a great behind the scenes look. The actors who do it, I've talked about it before, but now it's like deep into the season.
They're all getting sued right now, so I don't know how accurate it is.
Oh no, it's not that accurate. They even say like there's shit at the end. Like it is what it is. It's great though. Like it's really, really good. It's really well done. It's a fun watch. If you remember this time period in sports, you will love it. You get Larry Bird in it, and I think he's probably the one that's doing a little bit of the suing because he is portrayed as a fucking prick. He's only in one episode.
Jerry Buss is going.
Oh, Jerry.
Nuts.
I could see that. Yeah, I could see. Yeah. The way they portray Jerry Buss. But I mean, he's old now, and I could actually see Jerry Buss in the '80s being like that. I mean, he's just a womanizing, drunken Playboy Mansion going. I get why he would. I don't think it's that unflattering though. To be honest with you, like I buy the character. I think John C. Reilly does a phenomenal job of making him likable. Anyway, watch Winning Time. Totally worth it. It's fun. But Minx is different in a lot of ways. I really dig these HBO and I want to say it's really mostly been HBO that has been doing a lot of these like movies or series about the 70s and early 80s, and they've been doing them very, very well. They've really captured the vibe well. Minx is all about this super feminist woman. She loves Gloria Steinem and everything else. She's got a magazine she wants to do. It's like super feminist driven. It's all about women's issues. She goes to a magazine thing. Nobody wants to pick it up. Life changes happen, blah, 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 blah. Her boyfriend, played by Michael Angarano, they break up. She finds herself putting out this feminist magazine with a porn publisher, played by Jake Johnson, who is great, again, as he winds up being in fucking everything he does. He to me is so much like Charlie Day in that you think of Jake Johnson and you one of the first things that people really introduced him as was New Girl, and he's that character on New Girl, and just like Charlie Day, everybody kind of knows him from It's Always Sunny, and he's still kind of the same character or attitude in everything he does, but it works. And it winds up being really funny, and you don't hate him. Oddly enough, the girl who plays the lead character, is she the only thing that you really notice her from? If you go back to the first Guardians of the Galaxy, she is the little pink girl that works for the Collector. That does that. She's a really good little actress. Everyone in this is great. It's really, really good. I cannot recommend this series more. It's fun to watch. They're half-hour episodes. It's a really interesting look at kind of like just attitudes towards sex in the 70s, and you get her sister, and there's just all sorts of fun stuff that happens. But I will warn you, there's a lot of dong, and if you are not like if it bugs you, because I know there's a lot of people who like full frontal male nudity is still a weird thing. Like full frontal nudity of women is like it's okay. It's like you snicker, it's a bush, but like when it's a dude, all of a sudden it's like
I see it every day.
Don't watch Euphoria then. That's all I got to say about
really.
that.
Oh, really? Oh no, it
Yeah.
doesn't. It didn't bother me at all.
No, I'm not. No, I'm saying to the general public.
Oh, is that okay? Because I haven't watched Euphoria yet. That's another one on my list here.
Song City.
But yeah, there's it is because what she does is she starts basically Playgirl, but it's like a feminist magazine with nude male spreads, and it kind of changes some some attitudes about sex for some people, like her sister and this other stuff, and there's the hooker with the heart of gold that winds up being.
Is this a
like,
true story or a fiction?
No.
Okay.
Totally fictional, but you could see it happening. Like it's a fun little series. I hope it gets a second season. If it doesn't get a second season, it wraps it up enough at the end that you're okay with it being the end of a story. Like I'd like to know what happens with these people going on in the future, but if we don't get a second season, oh well. There's no cliffhanger. Like I'm not left with with an unanswered question. So yeah, Minx is really, really good. You should watch it, but again, lots of dong. It's just wall to wall dicks in a couple episodes, and then this wasn't on my list, but I randomly this afternoon I watched The House. It's a Will Ferrell, Amy Poehler. It's a couple years old now. It is on HBO Max. It's short. It's a nice little 90-minute movie. It's fun. Jason Mantzoukas is in it. It's like I swear to God, like this movie, like they were like, hey, who should we cast for the voice actors in Big Mouth? Oh, look, everyone from this fucking movie. Because it's got what's his bucket is in it. Who created Big Mouth and is like half the voices. Nick Kroll. He's in it, and he's Nick Kroll in it. Will Ferrell, hilarious. Amy Poehler's hilarious. Jason Mantzoukas is hilarious. Okay, just in time. So my wife is up with she's out of town with my daughter right now. They're up with some friends, and she just texted me. So we just watched Batman. 3 hours of my life I will never get back.
Oh, that's jacked up.
No, this actually, I'm very interested to get my daughter's take on it. My oldest, because Soph is way more. Well, Christy loves the Marvel movies, so it's not that. I knew though when I watched this, she was not going to like it.
Yeah,
this was not the Batman for her. Yeah. Not even not enough humor. I just know like it just wasn't her kind of movie at all. Like I knew she wouldn't like this Batman movie. But that's just the timing on that's kind of funny. So yeah, definitely watch Minx. Totally worth it. Oh no, as I was saying, The House. Basically it's a really quick 90-minute story about Will Ferrell. His daughter gets into college. The town has a scholarship that was basically going to be used this girl had applied for that she won that was going to send her to college. They changed the whole scholarship thing. Blah blah blah. Hijinks ensue. They start a casino in Jason Mantzoukas' house, and it just goes from there. And it's funny. Like it's a nice 90-minute, easy watch. It's got a lot of really funny shit in it. But my main thing aside from Minx is Teenage Bounty Hunters. Fuck you, Netflix.
Yep.
Fuck you in your ass.
Yeah,
for canceling this show.
Yeah, you want to talk about why they're losing subscribers? It's canceling shows like this.
This show was so good. It's EP on this one, Genji Kohan of Weeds fame,
and Orange is the New Black.
Orange is exactly. She I love. They make these girls and this situation and this town that is so anti-Hollywood in a way. They're these super Christian girls at this Christian
One of them
academy.
is super Christian.
Yeah. They're at this Christian academy basically. a Christian private school, and they're all gun-toting. I forget exactly where it takes. Is it in Texas?
I think so.
I think it's in Texas. Like
so.
they don't have exactly. I don't know if they even tell you exactly where it takes place, but it's obviously in the South, and they all have fucking guns.
My Alexa's going up.
They all have guns, which winds up being important to the storyline. Kadeem Hardison
Yep.
is in it, or someone who looks like they ate Kadeem Hardison. Time has not been kind to that man.
No, but he's great in it.
He is
great in it.
Oh, you fucking love him. He's awesome, absolutely awesome.
Oh wow. Sorry, I gotta look at it.
No, it's a really yeah. It's really good. Like
it's so fun. It's
you know,
so
I don't want
fun.
to, Andrew. I'm totally, and everybody out there. I'm actually not gonna add any spoilers to this because I really feel like everyone should just watch it. I don't want to give anything away because the thing that and Kevin, you'll know what I'm talking about to this one. The thing that happens at the very end of the season that could have been super duper cheeseball and cheesy as shit actually is not. It works somehow, and I didn't hate it. And I was expecting to when it's finally revealed what's going on, you're like, get the fuck out of here. But then you're like, oh no, though this actually worked the way they did it. Like it wasn't cuckoo, and it's a twist that you buy, even with everything else that's happened in the thing. You buy this twist.
Think you buy it because the show is so like on 10, right? It is.
Yeah,
it is a ridiculous show in its own right, and a lot of things about it are crazy, but it's so fun.
Yeah, it is. And I love fun. Both of those girls and the little moments.
They're amazing.
They're these. Well, yes, no, they're this, and this will be. They're twins. Like you know that from the beginning. They're I no spoilers on anything.
I think it's in the first couple of minutes you get your first.
That first couple of minutes with the two of them, you're just like, what am I want? Like it's just so funny to just the two of them, and then I buy wholeheartedly that these two girls are sisters. If not fraternal twins, they are definitely sisters. Like 100%. They are both great actresses.
Yeah, they're fantastic.
Like they both have a bright future in Hollywood. They're spot on. This was just a really good series that everybody should fucking watch. Everyone should go and watch this because it will piss you off and make you hate Netflix.
For sure.
Because like I got done watching it and it was only 2019. I got done watching it and I was like, oh, okay, maybe, because it's not unheard of for any of these shows to go like a couple of years without a series, especially with the COVID, the way it happened. But I went in and I hit the search and it was, teenage bounty hunters, and like instantly comes up canceled in the search thing I'm like, son of a bitch, fuck you, Netflix.
Yeah, because I watched it pretty close to when it came out. And I remember checking regularly to see if it was renewed. And then when it wasn't, I was like, I don't understand. Like, I don't get it. What show are you keeping that is better than this show?
But Fuller House got 3 fucking seasons, including a trip to fucking Japan.
Yeah, this could not have been a higher budget than that.
No.
Like, it wasn't a big budget show. No big name actors. Nothing. Like, it should have got a second season.
It was a fun and the mystery that winds up evolving as it goes.
Months after it premiered.
Yep.
I'm reading on Deadline right now.
Yep. It's so stupid. It was so good. And it, Andrew put it on a list to watch. I can't speak highly enough of this show. I'm surprised that it didn't get more. Actually, no, I'm not, because and this is where there is a little bit of hypocrisy that exists among certain circles, because you have, I will say, you have 2 gun-toting Christian girls as the heroes. They're white, in the South, but they're great. They're not. The problem is they're
not. The mock-up of
like they're not. It's when you see what it is. It doesn't turn out, and they are not who you expect them to be, and I'll just say this, without getting too spoilery about it. There's sex because you're dealing with high school girls
Sure.
in this. And Christian is a very like it's a current that runs through the entire show, but they do it very well. And the whole show isn't all about sex. Like there's not,
Mhm.
there's some sexuality stuff that comes up that is done so well. And
Mhm.
man, as just credit to the two lead actresses. I'm forgetting their names, and but
Yeah, I don't remember either. They've moved on since then too. So.
yeah, but just so well. The little roles that they put together are so well done. Um, but yeah, go and watch this for the love of God. Go watch Teenage Bounty Hunters, and then write Netflix and tell them they can suck
back
fart
again.
out of your
Yeah.
ass.
Cancel your
Because
subscription and tell them this is why.
yeah, it's
Yeah, no, I have not encountered a bad word about this show. All the comments on Deadline are like, "What the fuck were you doing?" Like, they were also like, the religious right might have gotten mad because apparently it's satirizing them.
but
Um,
it doesn't though. No,
It
this is where it
really
gets hard.
doesn't.
It doesn't. It actually, in a lot of ways, the way it handles the faith, yes, it does have those like hyper Christian kids that you see that are
Mhm.
like those perfect stereotype and tropes of what they're like. But then they all do kind of break out of those stereotypes, and not just the main characters,
right.
like all the kids who are
There's
in
more
there, and even
complexity,
the
more layers.
adults. There is, yeah, and I think in so many ways this show, I feel like even though it's obviously like complete hyperbole, actually shows you a little more what the average day-to-day Southern Christian person is actually like,
Yeah, it's
as
fair.
opposed to the picture that we're always like, given of them. Because they're just normal. They're normal people living their lives. This is what you see. I can't. You have to watch it to understand what I'm saying.
It's kind of like
Really, like,
watching. It's kind of like watching Sex Education, where the it's a very realistic portrayal of teenagers. I think.
okay, I'll put it like this. It's I can't think of. Oh god damn it! What was the name of the show? There was a show on BET that I watched that was so good because it was just like, it was basically like a black soap opera, more or less, like a Melrose Placey kind of thing.
Run's House.
No, asshole.
MTV, by the way, but
Right.
both Viacom. But yeah,
But it was really kind of cool because it was like,
I
okay,
think I
look,
know what you're talking about. Was it? Was it? It wasn't a reality show, though, was it?
no. It was just like, okay, it was different because you had an all black cast, and I don't like just doing the everyday things that like normal people do. Like it wasn't all crime drama. It wasn't, there wasn't, it wasn't like, obviously, and I watched it on BET, so obviously it wasn't supposed to be messagey. Like I love the show Blackish. I wish I had gotten on board with it a little earlier than I did, but I feel like Blackish is also like the constant message heavy show, like all the time. And I think that's partially because it's made in a lot of ways for a predominantly white audience.
Right.
And the show, yeah. Whereas BET obviously wasn't. It was made for a black audience, so it would make sense that it would just be, black people doing everyday things. Like,
Yeah.
it's just a show. Like, they don't have to push a message about racism and equality in this show, because it's
fire.
yeah. And so I found that very refreshing, and I remember enjoying it, and I remember feeling the same way about this, is that like you got a picture of like normal life. It wasn't, they weren't like,
And this is basically what this show does for the Southern, maybe evangelical set.
in a way, yes, because again, they still do. There are the tropes and the I don't know, if you watch it, you'll understand what I'm saying. I'm not expressing it like
No,
clearly
I do.
enough for it to make
get it.
sense.
It's refreshing.
Yeah, it's a different, refreshing take on that trope and cliche. because it winds up not being tropey and cliche. I mean, but even the things that are kind of cliche about it work very well. And that I really feel like that is a big Genji Kohan thing, because Weeds was the same way to me. Is that this like Weeds was always on the precipice until those
You're not
last
talking
couple of
about
seasons.
soul food, are you?
No, God no.
Okay.
No, I know that. I watched Soul Food. I enjoyed Soul Food, but no. Oh no, the show Soul Food?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because there's two. No, it was something else. I've watched a couple episodes of Soul Food and it was interesting. I watched it because I thought it was, oh, it's gonna be the movie Soul Food, but it's a TV show, and it is not. But yeah. Watch it.
Done. Done and
It's
done.
it's definitely worth a watch. I would love to
And
hear
it
someone
goes
else's
quick.
take
It
on
goes
it.
quick.
Oh yeah, they're 40-minute episodes, but they fly. Like
The
it's
fact it's only
constantly
one season
moving.
is very appetizing.
Yes, and I think it's only 9 or 10 episodes
10 episodes.
too. Yeah, like it was. It's a quick watch. You'll get through it. You will enjoy it though. And again, Kadeem Hardison is
he's great.
Great. I would like to see more of him. Actually, I would like
Yeah.
to see him in more roles. I think he's
He
older
fell off
Kadeem
for a
Hardison
while.
is he did, and I like it because he's not Dwayne Wayne
Right.
at all. And they didn't like try and pull him back and like type him as Dwayne Wayne. Like he is a completely different dude. But I would watch a show about him. Like I would have watched a spinoff of that character. I think he is I think he's a little bit of a gem of an actor in there that we don't really get to see. I don't know why he fell off the way he did. I think there's more roles out there, and I think he'd be really good in them. And then the last thing I'll say, and this is just not to spark conversation, they did find out the final bit of fallout from the Will Smith slap is that any Bright has been put on hold, which kind of pisses me off.
I never watched the first one.
I've heard mostly negative feedback from that movie from when I posted that news.
Okay.
You like it, apparently.
The movie itself was okay. I like the world building that they created, because they created this idea of that you had like orcs and elves, if you will, like the fantasy world is slammed into the modern world and how that works, and like the basic racism, if you will, behind some of that and how that works. But it's like an action film. It's cool in the way they do it, and Will Smith was really cool in it. And they have him, so like Will Smith is the renegade cop that gets teamed up. I think he's just coming. I haven't watched it so long now, but he's just coming back from shooting a suspect. So he's getting back in, and they give him the first orc cop as his partner, as like a thing. And it was actually very well done. And it was, I think it had the potential not for another movie. I would like to see Bright as a TV series. I think
it reminded me of Alien Nation. Like,
yes.
That's why I was just kind of like, we've seen this before, like in my head, which is why I wasn't necessarily drawn to it.
We did see that. We have in essence seen the concept, if you will, or that kind of like cop buddy interaction together. We have seen that before, but I think putting it in this like fantasy genre the way they did made it just a little bit different, because the sci-fi epic, I don't know why, but aliens always seem much more believable than magic.
Yes,
if you will, with stuff like it's always like alien shit always does better because you can buy into it.
Yeah, you're right.
Much more, because like, oh, they're from outer space, as opposed to, oh, where's fucking Harry Potter? It just doesn't stick the same way. But yeah, that was kind of a bummer for me. So I'll shut up now.
Oh,
Kevin,
do I get to go?
Mike. Pass the mic.
I didn't. I was asleep. I'm sorry. I got two things I'm going to go over. First one I'll start with. I'm actually going to really talk about next week on Epix, which is of course a pay channel. Apparently, I'm trying to get people to spend their money this week. The show From, FROM, just like Lost, LOST, is created by the same people. And interestingly, I did not ever hear about this, but as I was watching the opening credits, the executive producers are Joe and Anthony Russo. So that put a lot of, like, before really getting into the episode, put a whole lot of clout behind it for me too. Harold Perrineau is the main-ish character. He's fantastic. And generally speaking, after that, it's pretty much a cast of people I don't recognize. But it's really interesting. So the idea of the show is it's centered around this one family comes cruising into this town in their RV. And as soon as you get into this town, as soon as you drive into this town, you can never leave. You can drive on the road out of town. It loops you right back into town.
I've seen the preview for this.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's no way out of town. And at night, monsters come and they try and kill you. So the opening scene of the show, the very first scene, I will spoil this because it's the opening scene. There's a little girl. She's up in her room. And she hears a voice outside the window. And it's like, hey, it's your grandma, let me in. And she's like, I'm not supposed to, open the blinds. And she's like, but I'm your grandma. So she opens the blinds and there's a little old lady out the window. She's like, you don't look like my grandma. And she's like, no, I am. Just open the window. It's the window that's makes so the little girl does open the window. And it's like this traditional vampire story at that point. Once you've invited them in, she comes in and you see her dive in. And then later it cuts to the aftermath of this. And it's fucking brutal. Like, this little girl and her mom get eaten by these things. So the opening scene is heavy. But it's really cool.
This isn't one I can watch with my kids then.
Probably not. One of my kids was in the room and they were going through this house and there was just like two random people having sex. It was the only sex in the entire thing. And of course it's when my kids are in the room.
Right then, right. Yeah.
But it's a trip. I'm only 3.5 episodes in, so I don't know where it's going. I don't know how far it gets. At this point.
I'm actually sold. I'm sold, but it's on Epics though. But I'm sold. That sounds dope.
It's because I said Harold Perrineau.
Well, no, actually,
because you're on a Harold Perrineau trip, right?
I actually, I can't stand Michael, but I was gonna say though, what I liked, actually, what sold me was, I think in Cabin in the Woods, it also wouldn't let you leave. Like, I like the idea of getting into some woody whatever situation, and you're trying to leave and you can't. While that's one of my worst nightmares of all time, to actually watch people go through it is a bit fun. So the fact you can't leave, even if you want to leave, is like, I'm in. And then the whole diving through the window thing, dude, I'm in. That's some crazy, freaky shit.
It's a trip. And what's really cool about it is, like, for as supernatural it is, it also feels grounded because you bring in these characters into this town where everybody's living in this town and the people in the town are living with this reality. Like, they know they can't leave. They know the rules. There's these little pendants that if you put them on your door and they stay hung up, if you put them on the wall and they stay hung on the wall, the monsters can't come in unless you invite them or leave a door open. So as long as you have that, you're good. As long as you follow the rules that are there, that nobody knows who created the rules, they just know that the rules work, you're good. And it's really cool. And then these new people come in, so you've got to deal with their skepticism of it. Obviously, like, if this was happening to you just out of the blue, you'd be like, you guys are fucking crazy. Like, this doesn't make any sense. And so it's a real trip to see how these people have had to deal with it. So I'm excited to finish the next, I think, 5 episodes. I think it's 10 episodes, 8 or 10 episodes. So I've got a ways to go still. So I would definitely recommend it. I think it's done. So if you want to get an Epix trial and watch it and then not pay Epix, you could probably get away with it. I don't endorse that by any means. Definitely don't do that. But it's worth the $5 if you have to pay for a month of it. Like, it's good. On Epix, actually, I will keep watching Epix because there's also a show on there called Chapel Wait, which I haven't watched yet, but it is based on the town of Salem's Lot by Stephen King. So I'm really curious to see that one. It's like a turn of the century, pre everything we've ever seen about Salem's Lot story. And then the one thing that I did watch that I'll talk more about on Showtime, another paid channel, you're welcome, is called Yellow Jacket, and this came out last year. And in some ways, the story isn't super novel. It's a couple of, or it's a high school soccer team, like national championship soccer team, and they're flying to a tournament, and their plane crashes in the woods. And kind of like From, a lot of this feels a little like Lost. Like they crash in the woods, and now they have to survive. And again, just like From, there's this feeling that you can't leave this location. You can't get out. You're stuck here. So they've got to learn how to survive. And this show is really interesting because it goes back and forth between two timelines. So you have the timeline with the teenage girls trying to survive in the woods. And then you have today where some of these girls got out. You don't know how they got out. You don't know what they went through. You just know that they're out, and nobody knows what they went through. Like they're famous for surviving this, but as a unit, they have never told anybody what they had to do to survive. And one of the early scenes is like, I think, again, it's one of the opening scenes. These girls are chasing another girl through the forest. They catch her, they kill her, and it looks like they eat her. So this one's dark, like, and this one is less in your face supernatural than From. There's definitely some things that feel like supernatural elements, but at the same time, there's like this feeling that maybe they're all just crazy. Like maybe it's like a group hallucination that is making them crazy and making them do crazy shit. But like there's a male coach. There's his. They're not his. There's two boys, and one of the other coaches. I think they're the son of the other coach. And they don't, and the dad doesn't make it, but the two kids do. Two boys do. So you've got two boys that are teenagers, and then like 8 or 9, I think, teenage girls that make it. And we're talking 18, 19, 20. The young girls, I don't think I recognize any of the actresses, although the black lead female is familiar, but I can't remember what I've seen her in. Same with her adult counterpart. I've seen her in. What's that?
What's the name of the show again?
Yellow Jackets.
Thank you.
And I know I've seen her, the adult version of her character, many times. She's been around, but Christina Ricci is a main character who I number one, I love Christina Ricci's work, but I've had a lifelong crush on Christina Ricci. Like she's awesome, and she's nutty as shit in this, so she's great. And then Juliette Lewis is in it.
Yeah.
She plays crazy like a boss. And I think the other main girl is Melanie Linsky. She's really good. She's excellent.
Rika Sharma is in this.
Rika Sharma, yes, from Battlestar Galactica.
There you go.
Yeah, she is in it. She's good. Her part isn't as big.
Okay.
But it's a trip. Like the way the first season ends, it's already been renewed for a second season, which is good. I think the creator of the show has already said, "Look, I'd like to do 5 seasons." So if they can get their 5 seasons and tell the story the way they want, I'd be really stoked to see what they have planned. But what's really crazy is the first season ends and you still don't know how these girls got out of the forest and got back to a normal life. Like you don't know who was left behind. You don't know who ate who. Like you don't know anything. And what's really, really trippy is you can't really tell if it's group psychosis or if it's if it's actually supernatural. But there's some crazy twists and turns in it. Some stuff goes down that you're just like, that should not have happened. Like these girls, like as adults, do some crazy stuff. So they've been through the shit. Like it's wild. So I can't recommend it enough. It was really entertaining. It's really interesting. And it's dark. It's
question.
dark. Mm-hmm.
if you had to choose between Yellow Jackets and From, is that fair to ask?
Well, no, only because I haven't finished From, and I have finished this season of Yellow Jackets. From has not been renewed for a second season, which makes me a little uncomfortable. I don't know how it ends, but I don't like not knowing that, somebody hasn't bought into this more. But Yellow Jackets, just because I've seen the entire season and I know it's getting a second season, so I know I'm not stuck on a cliffhanger. I might recommend more at this point.
I can't wait to listen back to this to hear what you talk about, because I love Melanie Linsky.
She's fantastic. She's great in it. And like I said, Christina Ricci's in it, and I've had a lifelong crush on
Love
Christina
her.
Ricci.
Oh, hell yeah. Black Snake Moan had woof.
Mm-hmm.
Spank Bank refilled. And Juliette Lewis. There you go.
She does Psycho like a boss. But yeah, it's good. If you have Showtime, by all means, start it. It aired last December is when it was running weekly. So they still have a goal of filming this year and starting the new season by the end of the year. So the same time frame for season 2. Because it'll get really interesting, because these girls are now just starting to be stuck in wintertime in the woods. So you can see how that's going to go sideways. Like, winter is not easy. And I think they're in Canada, so that tells you how bad the winter is going to be.
Oh yeah. I think it's filming in Canada too.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. Everything's cheaper in Canada right now, so everything's filmed in Canada.
Vancouver.
So
oh my God.
So yeah, that's my 2 recommendations. What happened to your face, Peter? You look like you melted. You look like that fish.
Well, no, I was just checking. I didn't know how recently you had checked if there was like news about From being renewed or not.
Check today. There's still nothing yet.
Yeah, so I Googled it, and it just brought up a couple of renewed, not renewed things. And Winning Time has gotten a second season, and that's not even out of its first season yet, which is great. And just like that, the Sex and the City continuation, has been renewed for a second season.
Crazy. Well,
I don't know why we didn't finish it. Like, we absolutely loved Sex and the City. It was like one of our TV shows when it was on. And this was just bad, and I can't believe it's being renewed. Like, I just, from the first few episodes that we did watch, I'm amazed at that. Actually, it's a ridiculous cash grab. Anyway, so Yellow Jackets is a must see, and it just from what I just read, I can't wait to listen back to this, and hear what you have to say about it. But yay! All right, good one. Got to add that to my list. Yellow Jackets.
I'm trying to stay excited, but Pete is just boring me to tears.
I know. I'm watching. I'm watching your eyes.
I've been standing up, sitting down, like trying to keep my energy up and keep going.
I know. I'm looking at your eyes. I'm going, so that's what it looked like to every math teacher I've ever fucking taken a class with.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. No,
as I was dozing, thinking I was like awake for it was just for a second. I'm watching.
This is how it goes for me. As I get more tired, the hat just comes further and further. I used to do that at work. I got moved to a desk at the back of my office that was sunny and warm.
Oh,
and it was just great until like 1:30, 2 o'clock after lunch and everything. And like the girl in the cube next to me, I'd hear her walk by and laugh every now and then, because she would know, because my hat would be all the way down. I'd be leaning like this. She's like, that motherfucker fell asleep. So
that's great. This has been a phenomenal episode. This has been lovely. God, what episode number is this now? 97?
This is episode 90. This is 98, isn't it?
98? Is it 98?
I believe that it is. Let me check YouTube where our postings are reliable.
And up to
yes,
date.
This is episode 98.
Wow. We're so creeping up on episode 100.
Yeah.
Aww. I don't want to miss that.
So, yeah, that's fun. We're getting there quickly. And Yeah.
Oh God, we're so tired. We're ending off with a whimper, not a bang.
Yeah. I always whimper
Good
when
God.
I go to sleep. I'm a lonely, sad man.
We trailed off at the end here. All right, you know what? This has been a lovely evening. Kevin, what did you learn tonight?
What did I learn tonight? I learned that we talk a lot before we start recording a show. But I learned that you do have a little taste. You watched Teenage Bounty Hunters. I'm excited about that.
So good.
I learned that maybe I should watch Hurt Locker again. It's been way too long, like way too long. And I learned that sometimes I get tired. Sometimes I get sleepy. Yeah.
Andrew?
What I learned was I actually didn't know epics existed until tonight.
Really?
So we are totally living in the golden age of streaming television.
Yep.
So I definitely learned about I learned about Yellow Jackets. I learned that it's more about the latex thing than the being tied up. Like that's more closer to swaddling. Yeah, I think I'll leave it at that for now. That's what I learned.
What about you, Pedro? What did you learn?
I learned that for some reason Andrew finds being told he looks like Anthony Mackie an insult. I've learned that we actually all kind of agree on one thing about a DCEU movie, that this could be a very viable jumping off point for launching a cohesive universe, which of course they won't. And
No, the fuck no.
you know, I'm not going to start that conversation because it is time to say goodnight to us, because we know where that one's going to go.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been fun. Like, subscribe, do all those things. By the time you're listening to this, you're probably going to be on overload because I'm going to post like close to 9 hours of fucking content all at once. Just drop a giant pod bomb on people. Have a good week. Good night. Sleep well. Peace.
This is
Hasta luego.
one thing I actually think is really interesting is how Marvel has slowed down again, right? I think, between 2017 and 2017, 18, and 19, there were 3 movies a year.
There's 3 this year. Wasn't Spider-Man this year?
That was December last year.
It was December? Okay. Because we get Love and Thunder, we get
and Doctor Strange. That's it.
No, but isn't there one in December too? I thought there's one more this year.
Which one? And remind me then. I'm not aware.
Maybe I'm just thinking of more shows, but I would have sworn there was one more movie this year.
I think the shows basically spread it out. Let me see if the Marvels is this year. You might be.
I don't think that one is.
Yeah, no, I think it's just 2 this year. Yeah, the Marvels is 2023.
Yeah.
So, which I think is good. Like you got. I think you got to have variety.
Oh no, Black Panther's this year in November. Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
Yo, shame on me, dude. All the movies to forget about.
Yeah, November 11th. Yeah.
You're a fucking man, dude. I'm sorry. You're right.
Now, I still feel like that could potentially be pushed back.
Yeah.
But as of right now,
it's November 11th.
It's November.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
so
damn.
I've got my ticket for Doctor Strange. Last year they had 4 movies out. So they haven't really slowed down. Black Widow, Shang-Chi, Eternals, and Spider-Man No Way Home.
You're right.
Next year has 3 slated. So we've got the Marvels, Guardians 3, and Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Okay. All right. Scratch that. Me personally, I'm not really into, and this is like, again, I wouldn't say this like in public, but I'm not really into the style that was, popularized in the 90s with like, the Batman series, whatever. Like, I don't want my shit looking too cartoonish. I want it looking more, like Attack on Titan. So I would love to see Red Sun, but done in that style, not like the traditional DC cartoon style.
Although, for as blocky as the Batman the Animated Series cartoon was, that cartoon back in the 90s, back when we were in like high school and stuff.
Yeah.
That cartoon was fucking good. With Mark Hamill as the Joker,
Right.
Kevin Conroy as Batman, like that show had some great storylines. And if there was one where Batman goes into a like, I don't know if it's a homeless camp or something like that, where there's a bunch of bad guys and he fucks up and he gets his ass kicked and he loses his memory. So now you have basically a homeless Bruce Wayne, doesn't know he's Batman, living with these homeless people, and it's all about like him getting his memory back and all that. Like there was that one. There was a great storyline about Scarecrow, where Batman basically gets caught in his dreams. Like Batman the Animated Series was legit. Like it's the reason we have Harley Quinn today.
Right.
Is Mark Hamill's just amazing run as the Joker. Like he played the Joker. He played that character more than anyone has played a cartoon character or a comic book character in history, because he did the entire animated series. They did a couple of movies, and then he did the Arkham games for
The only person I can think of who might give him a run for the money is Peter Cullen as Optimus Prime. But I think, to be fair, because I mean that goes back to like the 80s. But I mean, yeah, maybe there's more content in general as the Joker than Transformers.
And the thing I'm thinking of actually might be Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill together because Kevin Conroy still does Batman all over the place. Yeah. And then Troy Baker did the last Arkham game as the Joker, which he did a great job. He sounded so much like Mark Hamill. It was crazy. But he's the only person that's ever voiced the Joker and Batman. He did for the Telltale game series of Batman. He did Batman in that too.